Hello students, MA students, good evening and welcome to another edition of my lectures. And I have sent you a little note on lyrical ballads by William Wordsworth today. And initially also while introducing criticism to you, I had given you a lowdown on what actually criticism is, and I'd given you I had told you something about romantic criticism also. So you know a little about it, that lyrical ballads was written between 1798 to 1802. It was finalized by William Wordsworth and his great friend Coleridge. Okay, it is actually the beginning of a new era for English literature. Anything that was supported by the imitative rationalist aesthetic of the 18th century, anything that was hackneyed, stereotypical, artificial, anything that was just a lifeless activity, anything that was considered to be a mere craftsmanship in the 18th century was challenged by both Wordsworth and Coleridge. Okay, now when you do the preface to lyrical ballads as a piece of criticism, what we can divide the book in, the preface in is four, I think just four main categories. One, what is good poetry? Second, who qualifies to be a poet? For whom is the poetry written? And of course the fourth one, very important, is poetic diction. So now we'll talk about lyrical ballads as written by William Wordsworth. If you would, I will deal with Coleridge's reaction also to lyrical ballads, preface to lyrical ballads written by Wordsworth later, if you agree. Now, what according to Wordsworth is poetry? आप लोगों ने सेकेंड ईयर से यू हैव डन दिस कोटेशन दैट इट इज़ अ स्पॉन्टेनियस आउटबर्स्ट ऑफ इमोशंस recollected in the moments of tranquility. Okay, now you have to be very careful here. It is not letting loose of emotions. A poet is not a madman, you know. Emotions definitely, which they constantly call organic sensibility, definitely plays a very, very important role in writing of poetry, but it also goes through grades. Like, you know, when I've done T.S. Eliot with you, and he said, like T.S. Eliot always said that poet thinks feelings and feels his thoughts. Now this is very important. Wordsworth was touching this point somewhere. He was also doing the same. Now what happens with Wordsworth is, as I told you, spontaneous outburst of emotions recollected in the moments of tranquility. Now it is graded in four things. Now four steps. Now what are those four steps? Is that there is a continual influx of feelings and emotions in your mind and heart. Now your thoughts, that's the second step. The influx is, there is an influx. The thoughts, experiences, feelings are coming to your mind and heart. One. Second step, they are modified and they are directed by your thought. That's the second one. Now, what is this modification and direction by the thought? Is that the mind actually gets into the habit of chewing your emotions and your feelings. It gets into a constant habit, and I'm not talking about ordinary people, we're talking about the poetic process, so we are talking about a poet. Okay, what is a poetic process, or who qualifies to be a poet? All actually gets subsumed under whatever I'm talking. Now, what happens is that you get into this habit of the poet's mind gets into this habit of chewing that for long periods of time, and then these feelings naturally and experiences have been a collection of your ages as you age. I mean, like of years as you age, I should say, in the sense that maybe 20 years back something had actually hit me really hard, you know, as something pathetic, as something beautiful, as something sorrowful, as something extremely joyful. I do not know that. So basically then what happens is the thought is actually active now and it is working on it. Now when this thought keeps on working on it, it becomes the habit of the mind. Now when it becomes the habit of the mind, you can very blindly, mechanically obey that habit, in the sense that if it is getting into a habit, when your mind is getting into a habit of say channelizing, working out, sort of directing those thoughts and experiences, then what happens is, then you can be laid back, you can take a back seat mentally, and then let your mind do the work, and then very confidently you can mechanically obey the habit of your mind of regurgitating, of reproducing those thoughts or those feelings into a new form, which is your poetry. There is no doubt about the fact that the third or the fourth steps are important again. Anything which has undergone a process of refinement over years, in the 40, 50, 60, 70 years age of a poet, anything that has undergone a chewing, sort of metamorphosis, a sort of channelizing, a sort of direction by the mind, definitely will be very refined. That refinement actually then leads to the enlightenment of the reader. Anybody who's going to read some piece of poetry which has undergone such a lot of thought, such a lot of malleability and ductility, it is you rub it through, the thoughts are rubbed through, the experiences are rubbed through, they just undergo, they amalgamate more new feelings, more new experiences, and then the continuous process, एक कुछ जैसे आप सोच लीजिए कि लहरों पे लहरें उठ रही हैं, and basically your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences actually get so refined that anybody who is going to read it will be enlightened. Your affections will be ameliorated. There has to be a what do you call it, a refinement, an upgradation, in all honesty. I am, as a reader, if I am reading something which has undergone a lot of processing, I'm definitely going to benefit from that. And so these, and then of course, as recollected in the moments of tranquility is important for him, because basically what kind of activity it is a very involuntary activity. You get my point? It is a very involuntary activity in which those thoughts and experiences are coming to your mind. They are getting mixed and mashed in various forms, and when you're ripe, when those thoughts are ripe, when they are ready to burst out, when the poet is ready to deliver, when they come out, they are definitely going to be of some help to the society and to the general public at large. This is again something very Wordsworthian, that these 4 steps. And then the 5th thing which is very Wordsworthian, is because if you're a nature poet, if you're a romantic poet, if you're an imaginative poet, any process which is very individual is definitely going to be used for a universal purpose. A poet cannot be a poet for himself. He has to be a poet for the society. He has to be a poet for the larger benefit. He has to be that harbinger of mental, psychological and emotional benefits of the larger society. Okay, so basically what is so important is that the personal feeling has to have a universal appeal, and that personal feeling which has a universal appeal again is born out of the organic sensitivity or sensibility of a poet. Okay, now everybody is not a poet. Everybody is not undergoing that kind of upheaval, mix, mashing, or and the transgression or the imbibement of thoughts and feelings. You get my point? So basically all this put together forms poetry according to Wordsworth. Now very, very important is, as I told you, see, it's a spontaneous expression, then the role of a rational mind which chews it. Okay, and then the premeditation is that you are drawing it from maybe 20 years back, you're drawing it maybe from 30 years back. Okay, and then getting accustomed to that habit of that mode of thinking and feeling, that particular mode of thinking and feeling, which actually produces ripeness, maturity in that thought, and that actually then leads to the delivery of poetry. Okay, so basically in lyrical ballads, what you do is the spontaneity and the powerful feelings. These are the two main main concepts of the lyrical ballads. That, see, the feelings have to be powerful, whatever they be, they have to be very powerful feelings. And of course, spontaneity doesn't mean that, I'm just sitting, I just came to a garden and started writing a poem on maybe the flowers and the river. No, spontaneity means that point of maturity. The thought has been lying in your mind for 40 years, 20 years, 10 years, but that point of maturity where we are ready to deliver, that is called spontaneity. Spontaneity is not that कि मैंने आपको कहा कि नहीं water पे आप एक ऐसे लिख दो and then you start writing. No, something that has processed in your mind for ages. But spontaneity in a poet is that that moment which delivers. I'll continue. My phone is giving me some stupid signal. Sorry. I'll continue. Thank you.